Shalom and welcome to another episode in our series called Picture This from Israel. Today we're walking up the trail to the top of the cliff of Arbel. I want to see if you can picture Jesus and his disciples on the slopes of this mountain. It's called today Arbel. Now, Arbel is not mentioned in the Gospels, but as you can see, we are already a ways up from the trailhead that starts at the Wadi Hammam, it's called. There's the Sea of Galilee just coming into view here. By the way, the Wadi, or the valley passed below us, you can see it there, is indeed where Jesus would have walked, but also like Abraham, Joshua, you name it, they used that valley to get into this Sea of Galilee basin. So I want to see if you can picture Jesus walking on this trail. Of course, this trail wasn't here. It's a national park trail, but I would have to think that on occasion Jesus probably escaped from the crowds a bit as he walked maybe up to this area of the cliff, or maybe around the bend where we're heading now. Maybe he took his disciples here to teach them perhaps more detail about what this kingdom of God was all about. So imagine Jesus coming here. Now, there is a good possibility, even though there is a traditional place where Jesus shared what we call the Sermon on the Mount. It's on the northwest corner of the lake. I'll turn around in a moment. But just imagine Jesus walking maybe on a trail that existed back then. He's bringing his disciples here. And all of a sudden, perhaps others join him. And here comes the crowds. They're interested to find out what Jesus is teaching about this Malchut Shemaim, the kingdom of heaven. And maybe they come to the slopes just right below us. And Jesus maybe is down further below with the crowds now maybe climbing the slopes to sort of get a natural theater type of arena, or an area where his voice would have carried up to the crowds. Oops, I gotta watch my footing here. But as we get close to the bend, you'll see what I'm talking about. I can really see and picture Jesus preaching, teaching the Sermon on the Mount that's recorded in Matthew 5, 6, and 7. Some even suggest that this was the mountain where he was transfigured. Now, that's an interesting proposal, and one I can also picture happening here, although it seems like as if maybe Mount Hermon would have been more likely as a location, although Matthew 17 says 6 days later. So from being in the Caesarea Philippi area to the north, he certainly could have come down here, and this cliff that we see. In fact, let's just turn around so you can see the top of the cliff. There it is. Maybe this was where Matthew 17 took place. But what's really neat is what we see now behind me is now the northwest corner of the Sea of Galilee. Below us is the plain of Gennesaret. Around the bend is Capernaum. Further north, 30 miles, is Mount Hermon. So picture Jesus now at the end of his ministry. He already rose from the dead. He tells his disciples to go and meet him on a mountain in the Galilee. Why not Arbel? Why not here? And in that passage, in Matthew 28, perhaps you're familiar with it yourself, Jesus shares what we call the Great Commission. And I think that's a good possibility. Now, John 21 records Jesus did encounter a post-resurrection experience with his disciples who were fishing off the shoreline of the lake. This is recorded again in John 21, but Matthew 28 records Jesus meeting his disciples perhaps above us. So I think that's a possibility. And then, of course, from the top of this, Jesus one more time would end up going to Jerusalem, where he would ascend. Acts 1, Luke 24. So we can picture this location, the Arbel Cliffs, and certainly the plains of Gennesaret below us, and now the lake, the Sea of Galilee, called the Kinneret in Hebrew. This is where Jesus served so many people. This is where Jesus called his disciples. Come follow me, he said. Lech acharai in Hebrew. Come follow me. It was a very rabbinic way of calling people to be followers or Talmudim. So I can picture it, and I hope you can too, as we enjoy this trail that goes to the top of Arbel. So until our next episode, take care and shalom.